CashFlow Diary Podcast, episode 106.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the CashFlow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other CashFlow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the CashFlow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and you know what? It is amazing to be me. Why? Because what it comes down to is that over the years, each one of us, myself included, we learn many different things, many different tools, techniques, and shortcuts that sometimes we just know they're valuable, but we don't know how to get what we have in our heads over to the individuals who would want to take advantage of it. You probably have experienced this. You were going out there, you're trying to write an offer on a piece of property, or maybe you're trying to get a business deal done, but you don't know how to communicate it. You wish you had a way, and you wish you had a website, or you wish you had a system that could help people understand what it is that you know, because you know you could help them. And here's the thing. Today's guest is going to help you understand exactly how to do that, because one of the most important things to do is to learn how to communicate to where the people are. And right now, the people are definitely online looking for you, looking for me. And one of the things we get to do today is we get to ask an expert how to make sure that our ideas get properly communicated in that fashion. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. But what I want you to do is I want you to go over to learninvestingnow.com. That's learninvestingnow.com. Go there and you will be able to access a due diligence checklist. Now you say, why on earth would I want that? Because you have always asked yourself this question. What question should I be asking? What information do I need in order to make sure I can put a deal together, be that a business deal, real estate deal, or any deal whatsoever? And you want to know what those things you should be asking for are. And I've put them together in the very same checklist that I use myself. And I know it's going to overwhelm you, but it is going to teach you everything you need to know to make sure you get your deals done correctly. So go over to learninvestingnow.com, grab that for you, and we'll also give you some additional information on how to make sure you get your solid foundation and beginning as an investor out there in the world. Now, today's guest is the creator and founder. And I love when you have website names that are easy and that make sense. It's Help My Website Sell. Perfect. I'm like, yes, sounds like the thing I want to know. And the Business Creators Institute, he's taking his passion for helping small business owners and business creators just like you win at the game of business and marketing and putting that information to work. And I love what he calls emancipating the power of information by converting more social media fans and followers, as well as website visitors, into prospects and customers, and simplifying internet marketing technology so you can get more customers, make more money, and make a bigger difference. Help me welcome Mr. Adam Hommey.
Jay, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited about being a guest here on CashFlow Diary, and I think this is going to be a great opportunity for both of us and for everybody listening today. And this is something that I'm very passionate about, what we're going to be talking about. So I'm kind of on the edge of my seat, just waiting for you to take it from me here.
No doubt, no doubt. Here's the thing. You know, one of the things that I love about creating cash flow is that you can take just about anything you're passionate about, keywords, you've already said that, and turn it into a business. And sometimes, you know, we can't come up with our own ideas. So the idea is I know I get stuck. So what we do is we turn around and we take our gifts and talents and amplify the ideas of others or help them do it. And that becomes our business. So it sounds like to a degree that your business is, I'm excited about other people's businesses.
Yes, absolutely. I'm passionate about helping what I like to call the business creators win at the game of business and marketing. And by business creators, I mean entrepreneurs. I mean those who take a stand and marry their passion to their purpose and their abilities and create something above and beyond anything they may have dreamed about when they were first starting out. I also mean folks who help others win the game of business and marketing. This can include any sort of designers, such as web designers or graphic designers, virtual assistants, online business managers, marketing and business coaches, social media strategists, media and publicity strategists, anybody who helps anybody else grow their business through smart marketing strategies.
Got it. Got it. So, when it comes down to it, though, at the end of the day, it's obviously it's about cash flow. And at the end of the day, what I like to think about is that I look at today's entrepreneurs. I look at today's entrepreneurs kind of as like, yesterday's superheroes. Everyone idolized Superman when he first came out because, wow, he could do anything and everything and he could always save us and he knew the right answers and he made things better. And I look at today's entrepreneurs the very same way. However,
Right.
Superman, he had an origin story, Krypton, all that stuff, Kal-El, original name, my question to you is, before you were out there changing the world by helping entrepreneurs, what were you doing? What's your origin story, Adam?
All right. So where my entrepreneurial journey really began is actually, I believe the seeds were planted way back in the mid 1990s when I was in college. I went to Penn State for my undergrad. I have a bachelor's degree in political science. And when all my poli-sci term papers were due, I found myself down in the computer lab. You can tell we're really dating myself because I'm saying I went to a computer lab to get online. I think that your average 12-year-old has 4 different ways of getting online. But back in the day, this is back when there were still lines out the door to get on the computer to check your email.
Right.
So I would be down there at odd times, day or night, playing with my GeoCities websites. And don't even try go searching for them because they're gone now. And I knew that this is something that I was very interested in, but I put it on the shelf because my goal was to complete my degree in political science and then get a law degree and become an attorney. Now, after I graduated from college, I decided that going into the practice of law was something I did not want to do. I looked at the LSATs and I looked at what the lifestyle was really going to be like, and I decided that while that might be great for some people, it wasn't going to work for me. So that put me in a situation where I was drifting for about 2 years. Then I ended up working as a recruiter for a temporary staffing company. It's one of the worst jobs that any human being could have. Not the work itself, but the company that I worked for, unfortunately, had a lot of issues. Now, one of my contacts for finding people who we could send out as temps was the director of the human resource department, the professor of human resources at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he and I ended up having a conversation, and he asked me, he said, "So Adam, have you thought about getting an MBA yourself?" And I said, "Well, I graduated from college 2 years ago, and I thought that after you graduated from college, if you didn't go right to grad school, that was pretty much it for your skills, and you were locked into what you decided to do." And because that's something that children are sometimes told, is if you don't go straight through school and you just keep going, grade school, high school, college, grad school, whatever, if you drop and you take a break at any time, you're going to lose all your skills and you're going to get stuck in a rut. And he said, "Nonsense. You're exactly who we want in our MBA program because you've been out there for a couple of years. You know what needs fixed. You'll be a better student." So I took his advice. I applied. I got accepted. I came out of Duquesne University 2 years later with an MBA concentration in human resource management. I also, during that time, had picked up a job working for a nonprofit as the assistant to the director of community relations and the manager of training. So I was involved in a lot of training and education activities. And combined with my education, I was headed towards becoming a Fortune 500 training and development director. Did the networking, got the interviews, got the job offers, turned them all down. I decided that there's something missing here. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I ended up reconnecting with one of my previous mentors from 10 years ago, who's the circle of life at this point, now owned a training and development firm. And I ended up doing some work for him on the side while I continued to hold down that day job. So for 2 years, I did the side work with my mentor while I held down and actually got promoted at my day job. And then in September 2005, I made the jump. 2 weeks later, I was at the college speaking boot camp hosted by James Malinchak. And this is back in September 2005. This is when college speaking boot camp was 35 people in a conference room. It wasn't the arena that we associate today with James Malinchak, the star of ABC's Secret Millionaire. I mean, this was way back in the day. So 35 people in a room, I got to know every single one of them. And among them was somebody who owned what I like to call an internet marketing support firm that basically did the thing that I advocated right at the beginning of this interview, which is helping business creators win the game of business and marketing. So I became a subcontractor for her. She became my new client. And she told me when we first started working that her experience with her subcontractors was within 6 months, they would either be so good in picking up so many of their own clients that they would be leaving her, or they would be so bad she wished they would. Now, I turned out to be the former category. And then for 3 years, I owned a website development firm. Then I closed that down and I opened up helpmywebsitesell.com, which is a consulting firm that helps simplify your website conversions while helping you spend less time editing and maintaining your websites and more time educating your audience and monetizing your business. And the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, there's a number of things that you said that I just want to make clear for everybody. Now, I know for those of us, if you're listening on these fancy devices that you carry around, GeoCities was a website platform long ago that it made it easy for some of us to first get online in a computer lab. That what we would actually do, believe it or not, is we would go to one location together, and everybody didn't have a computer in their own house. So we had to go and we signed a piece of paper saying we're going to use the computer. And there was a whole bunch of people there all at the same time. And we used these things called mice, and it was text based. And I know it sounds like, wow, ancient times, but understand that's how it starts. But what's interesting to me in your story is that you were doing the go to school, get good grades, get a job thing, but yet what you got a degree in has nothing to do with what you're doing today.
I wouldn't say that. Okay. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because I am developing a clientele. I've got one client where we're in the process of restructuring all their website conversion funnels and redesigning the overall content strategy for their business, which is a firm that helps people in areas like workplace communication, project management excellence. So this is the type of firm that will work hand in hand with human resource departments and training departments and department heads and senior management. So that background is really helping me effectively serve this client, and also is informing some of the copy work that I'm doing, which has turned out to be a pretty major enterprise at this point in terms of getting their new website funnels written, because I'm writing and designing all the copy and all the funnels and everything to go along with that. It's also helped me in the sense that having that type of background has given me insights on how to do team building. Unfortunately, what we see in the entrepreneurial world is what passes for team building, in my opinion, is education about find the cheapest way to get virtual help and then spend a lot of time explaining to them the tasks you want them to perform and then measure them to make sure they actually do it. Unfortunately, that's what passes for education on team building and organizational building in the environment today in too many cases. Not all, but too many cases. But having that human resource and training background, I've been very fortunate that I've been able to bring people in to support my business who will tend to stay with me for a long time. I sleep very well at night knowing that I have a team of people who support my business who do not need minute supervision, who will do what I need them to do, who will innovate for me, and in many cases will push me and feel that they have an ownership stake in my business. That's something that my background has informed, because all those courses in my MBA program on business excellence and how to develop departments and how to motivate teams teams, that's really coming into play now, because even though the environment of business has changed radically in the past 15 years, the basic tenets really haven't.
Yeah, well, it still involves people, and so long as it involves people, some of those things people don't really change. They like eating, they like sleeping, they like being a part of something that's good and bigger than themselves.
Correct.
That's been that way for quite some time. Now, you bring up two very, very important subjects as it relates to creating cash flow, building business, and again, and I don't care whether it's real estate. I hope you're hearing this. I'm so glad this happened. Is one. Yeah, I hear you saying that your background, what you did previously, plays into today, and it is part of the reason that you're successful. Yes?
I tend to believe that. Because you hear so much out there about how an MBA is worthless, and it's too bad you spent all that money on the MBA. Now we have to show you how to really run a business so you can pay off those loans. And I think that a lot of that is played up hyperbole, and I just don't think it's necessarily true. Where you have been and what you have done will inform and help you develop and be stronger at what you're doing if you let it.
Oh, so true. Now, let me be even more clear about what I'm saying. You may not be the person that has an MBA or have had the fortune of having that experience. However, you could be a parent, you could be a mother, you could be a father. Those experiences, and I'm not kidding, will play especially when it comes to team building and getting your team to do things. I mean, you think about this. If you can get your kids to go to bed, definitely if they go to bed on time, this is the same skill set, people, that is required to keep that going. And you speak of team building the same way that I do. Without my team, it just doesn't happen. And I don't worry. I love how you said that they innovate and they feel like they have an ownership stake. And I mean, we go toe to toe and about some subjects sometimes. And yeah, they definitely have pushed me. There have been many times I'm just like, guys, this one's too big for us. And they're like, no, let's do it. And it's a let's do it. And we go and get it done. So what is your magic secret then because I'm sure everyone's asking, because they ask me all the time. They're like, Jay, how do you find such great people to be on the team? So I'm going to ask you. So hopefully, you can finally put to bed that question.
I don't think we're ever really going to put that question to bed. I think that what we need to think about are a few things. Number one, I see folks way too often who look for some firm that's a one-stop shop that'll help them with everything they need. And in fact, two of my team members own the one-stop shop type formula, and they hate when I say this, but they understand the reasons why I say it. If you have just one person on your team, you're going to be subject to their tunnel vision in terms of how things should be. Or if you have one organization supporting you, you're going to be subject to that organization's tunnel vision. Also, something happens to that relationship, because things can happen all the time and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but things sometimes change. You find yourself out of luck. I find myself going to bed very comfortably at night knowing that I have two firms where if one of them for some reason ceased to be involved with my business, the other could very quickly step in and pick up those functions. They have the know-how, they have the ability, and they know how I think and know how I approach things. They could very quickly assimilate themselves into that role and keep my business moving smoothly. Because I know what it's like to have my entire team turn over on me. Just coincidentally, everybody leaves all at the same time or needs to leave all for their own reasons. That happened to me about 2 years ago, and it disrupted my business for almost 6 weeks. So that's one thing, is have at least a few people involved in your organization so you get a variety of viewpoints and you have duplication and redundancy in your business. I remember one time I was on a mastermind call and I explained to my coach this belief that I have, which is that whenever you have, like, let's say you have a web designer in your business, well, you should have a second person who's also a web designer who knows web design. And you should also be thinking in your business about how to load balance things. So if you have a lot of web design work to be done, even if one person is your primary, you should be throwing some of that website work to the other person so that they're with your flow and with your groove, and they have a pattern of delivering the results and know what kind of web work you need. And some people in that mastermind group took me to task like, well, wait a minute, if you're the web designer, shouldn't you be trying to get all that business? And should you also be showing the client what else you do? And I think, yeah, that's absolutely true. But as the business owner, you need to look out for yourself. You need to have multiple points of view and multiple resources there to serve you, because it's not just a matter of maybe one of the web designers quits or goes out of the web design business. What if they get sick? Or what if they take a vacation? Yeah, I know it's kind of funny, some entrepreneurs hearing that. But what if they take a vacation and they're absolutely like really on vacation, not just working from their laptop from the beach, but I mean really on vacation, and something needs done now? Well, if you don't have a second person there, you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. So that's another thing I want to put out there. And then another thing about team building that I think is very important is I also see that sometimes folks will look to dive headfirst into a relationship. So they'll sign that contract for the 40 hours a month or 40 hours a week, whatever it is, and they'll dive in headfirst. And I think that is one of the worst things you can possibly do. I advocate that you first try something where we work together. Do a project or do a consultation and get a chance to get to know each other and discover how things are going to be. I mean, I have one client I'm in the process of bringing on right now. We were having a conversation just the other night, and we were both in agreement that once we get started with our relationship, we're probably going to butt heads a couple times, and we're going to have to get used to what it means to step on each other. And we both kind of laughed and said, yeah, that's what it's really all about. So you need to take the time to get to know each other, to push each other a little bit and find out how you best work together, how to make those two puzzle pieces snap together synchronistically. And only when you get to that point should you be looking at what the relationship is really like. I know with one of my assistants, I brought her on originally to help me manage my email marketing and all the typical stuff that falls under virtual assistants. But I discovered about 2 months into the relationship that she had a real knack for running podcasts, meaning handling the technology behind it, finding me very high quality guests, and making sure the whole thing ran smoothly. And my business has experienced a huge increase in terms of our reach and in terms of the amount of things I'm able to get done because I don't have to do them anymore, if that makes sense. Because this person who I originally wasn't even thinking of to handle the podcast, I originally was thinking of bringing her in to free me for some stuff so I could handle the podcast, and then she just took it over. It wasn't one of her advertised skills. In fact, I'm not even 100% sure if she knew that was the place she wanted to go. I really just don't know the answer to that. And if she's listening, she'll probably take me to task for that one later, and that's perfectly fine. But it just worked out that way. So leave room for the unexpected. And then finally, I'm going to, and this is going to go right counter to a lot of the entrepreneurial teaching out there, which is pay people more. If people saw what I paid my web designer, if people saw what I paid my two firms that assist me on a monthly basis, the first thing they're going to say is, do you realize you could be getting the same help in India for 1/20th of the cost? And I say, yeah, but I don't want to supervise people. I want to let people know what I need and let them find their own way of delivering it for me. Another thing that's very helpful about my business is because people are paid well, because they are encouraged to have an ownership stake, an emotional ownership stake in what I do, that I get a lot of things done and I get a lot of things innovated that I don't even have to come up with on my own. I sleep very well at night because of that, and I don't haggle over rates and things like that. I remember one time I was in a member of an entrepreneurial coaching program, and I heard the coach say that if you have somebody in your business who, let's say, is a virtual assistant and you're giving them a lot of work, you should then squeeze them for a discount and say something like, hey, I'm delivering to you like a quarter of your business. I think I deserve a discount. And I canceled my membership in the program the next day because she said that. If you have somebody devoting a significant piece of their business bandwidth to you, you need to pay them a premium. Because by doing that, they're effectively putting you ahead of their own business. And if you want to be their favorite client, the one who always gets their best, the one who sometimes they'll do your stuff even if they don't get to their own, the one who's always their favorite, the one who always gets their stuff done first, that translates into money because they have bills to pay. Their electric company isn't going to hear something like, well, I use a lot of electricity. I should get a discount. It doesn't work that way.
Okay. I just want to go on record and say that I did not coach Adam to say any of that. For those of you who have listened to me before, you're like, wow, that sounds the same. Adam, you would make a terrific real estate investor because it's the same thing. I'm loving it.
Thank you.
When you start talking about things like single points of failure, guys, he said the same thing. You can't have those single points of failure. You got to have those backups. This is why multiple property managers in many cities, in some cities where we operate, we have 2 property managers in the same city that are actually active in any given moment of time. You got to understand. I love everything you just said. And unfortunately, we're still going to get well, how do you find them though, Adam? How do you find them? Where are they? Where they seem like they're hidden under a rock. How do you find these magical people who will be innovators and creators and put your business ahead of their own and all that other stuff? Where are they?
Are you tired of letting good cash flow generating ideas go to waste? Go to CashFlowDiary.com/ready to apply for a complimentary, yes, that means free, one-on-one breakthrough session. Take action now. Go to CashFlowDiary.com/ready. Again, that's CashFlowDiary.com/ready. Before we get back to today's episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, your host, Jay Massey, has some important insights to share with you.
Okay. You're probably wondering what on earth is he going to say this time? Well, here's the truth. Many of you always ask, how do you build a team? How do you make that happen? And what is involved in making that go down? And we're going to get back to the interview in just a second, and you're going to get some of those tips, some of those techniques. And one of the things that I'm going to do, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag ahead of time, is that for those of you who are already Founders members, you want to make sure that you keep paying attention to your email. In the not too distant future, you're going to be invited to an exclusive event only for Founders members of the Cashflow Diary, where we're going to be talking to my team. We're going to do our best to introduce you to all the pieces of the puzzle, and make sure that you have the ability to go out there and duplicate a team of any size, any kind, to do whatever type of business it is that you are looking to do. Now, for the rest of you who may not yet be a Founders member, I'm just going to say that you're going to want to make sure that you grab a copy of the upcoming audiobook. Yes, we are making progress, getting ever so closer. I think this will actually be the month we see the final gold master, whatever you call it, CD, DVD, MP3. And I'm excited about being almost done with that, because the bonus content is going to contain lots of information as it relates to many different subjects that I get questions about. And it's only going to be available inside the audio CD, or sorry, I should say audiobook, that many of you have already taken advantage of. If you want to make sure you're on that list, you want to go over to send a text message to 949-682-3565. The keyword is audio. Send a text message with the keyword audio, AUDIO, to 949-682-3565. Or for those of you who happen to be international, you want to go to cashflowdiary.com/audio, and we will keep you informed. And some of you may just want to go ahead and go straight and purchase it. That way you don't have to try to remember, is it out yet? You'll know because it'll be right in your email box. You just want to go to cashflowdiary.com/book. And you'll be able to go ahead and get it there. It's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are eager to receive it. We are greatly eager to continue its creation and almost finish. It's close. Really, really, really close now. So let's get back to the interview.
Discussion groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. Join high quality discussion groups on Facebook and LinkedIn. There are groups around virtual assistants. There are groups around internet entrepreneurs. I have a whole separate masterclass on the principle of discussion group game and how to grow your business by participating in other people's discussion groups and how to start your own discussion group. And I found everybody I need because I belong to discussion groups where virtual assistants and online business managers congregate. And I put it out there that I was looking for somebody, and they came to me basically. And what was really nice about that is I got to check them out in the discussion group. I got to see some of the things they're talking about. I got to get a sense of how they approach life, how they approach business, some of their philosophy, some of their skill sets. So I don't need to do a 25-point interview or have them fill out applications or shoot me a YouTube video of singing their favorite rap song or something like that. I just go see what they're doing online. And if I like what I see, then I know I have a pretty good shot. And if I see, and also because social media lets you see some of the people they hang out with, so you get a sense of who influences them. And if you decide who influences them is an influence you'd like in your own business, then that also tells you this is somebody you may need to consider working with. To me, there's no exact science to it, but really, to find the best people, be social inside discussion groups within Facebook and LinkedIn.
So
that's where you can find your best people.
Right now, I think somebody just said to themselves, "Uh-oh, I need to go clean up my Facebook profile."
Yep.
Then the other thing I think they're wondering is, okay, so when is your rap album coming out? You said something about, you were going to rap on YouTube. What?
Well, sometimes, like, you hear some companies will ask people these really silly questions in interviews, and they're kind of like trick questions. And I know people, and I've seen several people do this, where one of the steps in the interview process is they have to film a video of themselves singing a rap song and put it on YouTube. And I understand the reasons why you should do that. In fact, a friend of mine does this as part of his recruitment process. I understand the reasons why, and it speaks to the cultural needs of his organization and the types of people who are going to fit in best and be most successful working the way he works. He explained it to me. I know exactly why it is. I'm just saying that that's not something that I personally feel the need to do because I have this other way of sourcing people. So it's whatever works best for you.
Well, I was just saying it couldn't hurt to try to, put down a few tracks and drop an album and make some money that way. That's all. It's all good. It's all good. Either way it goes. So, when you go through this, how did you get the confidence? I mean, because, we're all told, go to school, get good grades, all this other stuff. But now you grab the confidence to, quote unquote, swim upstream, as they say. Right. Where did that come from?
Oh, because I smashed my printer into 500,000 pieces one day.
Oh. Okay, so you saw the movie Office Space. That's what I guess.
Well, not exactly that, but not too far off. 2 years into my entrepreneurial journey, 2 years after I was full-time in the business, I don't know how I managed to do this, but I picked up 3 clients from hell at the same time.
Ooh.
Imagine having just one, but I had 3.
Okay.
Just absolute clients from hell. Anything that falls under the category or is connotated by the phrase clients from hell, multiply that by 3. It was to the point where I was run so ragged that there was this one particular Wednesday morning where I woke up and I looked around and there was absolutely no food in the house.
Mm-mm.
Not even a couple crackers. I ate toothpaste for breakfast because I was being so hounded and so overwhelmed by the situation I was in. I could not get out to go buy a bagel. I mean, that's how bad it was. and I'm not. And this is not me blaming. I know that I let myself get there because I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, and I didn't have the skill set. And it got to the point where after I was cleaning up this other person's latest emergency, because it seems like everybody else's emergencies were mine, I was really in a very bad place. I needed to print something between one angry phone call and the next. And so I went to my computer and I did file print. And halfway through printing the paper, the printer beeps and says, "We're out of ink." And I said, "You mean you couldn't have told me that I was going to run out of ink after you wasted a piece of paper when I don't have time to go out and get breakfast, much less buy more paper?" Well, I didn't exactly use those words.
I understand.
I think I phrased it a little bit differently. 2 years later, when I was moving out of that apartment, moving to a better place, I was still finding pieces of that printer. Now here's how this became a confidence builder. And I tell this story all the time, and I have no shame about it. In fact, I think a lot of us have things like this in our journey that some people are afraid to just bring into the light because it may make people think wrong of them. And I really don't think that that's the right approach to take. The reason I view this as a confidence builder is because I looked around the floor of my living room in my apartment, and I saw all the pieces of that printer, and I said, my life really sucks right now. How did I get myself into this? But then another thing popped into my mind right then, which was, I can do something about this right now. this may be a shambles, but this is my shambles. I can start taking actions because I'm not eating toothpaste for breakfast another day.
Right. Well, my kids have this cherry toothpaste, and they kind of like it.
Well, I might eat some of that. So I immediately, I don't want to belabor this call with all the steps I took, but let's just say I started that day making changes. Within 2 to 3 weeks, got myself entirely out of that situation and started to get my business back on track again. I started eating real food again. But the point being is that because I was an entrepreneur, because I owned the business, because I got to say yes or no to things that I wanted or didn't want, I had the power to say, I understand I let myself get here. I blame nobody but myself. In fact, I don't even blame myself. I accept that I allowed this to happen, but I also have the power to make it stop and make the changes stick. When you work for somebody else, you may or may not be in an environment where you can do this. I've been in environments before where they had an obsession with your position on the organizational chart, and it got to the point where I felt like I was in a situation, and this was not just me, it just seemed like the culture that was going around, where if you said the world was round and somebody who ranked higher than you on the org chart said the world was flat, then you owed them an apology for daring to argue with them.
Yeah, I don't do well in that environment either.
Yeah. And that may be an exaggeration, but realistically only slightly, because there's just all the little things and all the obsession with rank and position on the organizational chart. So when you're in an environment like that, then it doesn't matter how many printers you smash, you can't do anything. But when you have control of your own destiny, and like, for example, if you're in the real estate investment, if you're seeing yourself in a deal that you don't want to be in, you can say, hey, I don't like this movie. I'm getting up and I'm leaving.
Right. And you can take the popcorn with you if you'd like.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Here's the question, though. In that moment, did you own the business or did the business own you?
Very much the business owned me, and that was the epiphany I had.
Yep. So don't be fooled. You may be the one on the title, but there's still other things that you've got to do to be in control of that situation. So let's switch this just a little bit and talk to us a little bit about how you find that new entrepreneur. Someone is listening right now. I mean, take a real estate investor or would-be real estate investor. We've got to reach sellers. We've got to reach buyers. We've got to find new ways to get in front of our target market. We've got to educate them depending on how high level our deals are. If we happen to be a syndicator or a promoter like we do, where we raise capital and all these other things, in order to do that, we've got to get the word out, and the popular ways to get the word out, or at least the ways that we've learned to get the word out, is using online strategies.
Right.
For those who are, getting started, what would you say has been first of all, let's go through like the top 3 mistakes that are made, and then the top 3 things we should be doing in order to make sure the business goes in the correct way and developing our message and getting it out there to many different people.
All right, I'm going to do the best I can to link this to the real estate investor, because I've worked with, I have friends who are real estate investors, and I've also, have friends who are realtors. And I know that online marketing is a little bit different when you're in these industries than what I typically deal with. But I can tell you a lot of the mistakes I see people make regardless of industry, niche, market, or
Absolutely.
What have you.
Yeah, please.
And the first mistake is building your website before you launch your business. Because what I saw happen, this is part of the reason I got out of the web development business, is there was a confusion that the website itself was some kind of goal. The website is only a tool. Now, what happened is we took on all these very large-scale website development projects that had just a funny way of taking about 3 times as long as originally projected to get done. And a lot of that, and sometimes it came down to feature creep. Sometimes it came down to the unexpected. A lot of times it came down to the client not really fully understanding what they wanted to do with their business, but knowing that they had to have a website up first. So this is a conversation I think a lot of web designers and web developers are going to be very familiar with, where you're 3 months into a 6-week project, and you have the client now saying for the 80th time, this website was supposed to be live 6 weeks ago. I'm tired of asking you, when will my website be live? And the designer just rolls their eyes and says, okay, so where's this content that you keep telling me that we absolutely need to have in place, that you told me you were going to get to me on this date, on this date, on this date, and on this date, which you didn't deliver. And when I asked you about it, all you said was, when's the website going to be up? And then you have the client, because we're not going to turn this into client blaming, because that's not what this is about. The client will have a moment where they'll rip their hair out, or at this point, perhaps what's left of their hair, and they'll say, they keep asking me for this content thing. Aren't web designers supposed to write content? I don't know what to write. I don't have time to write. I mean, what really led to me shutting down my website development firm is I got myself into several of these situations, and I developed some skills in terms of how to do it. And at one point, I had the client say, look, I really just don't know what to write. I don't know this marketing stuff. Can you just tell me? And for once, I'm thinking, okay, this is good. They're not trying to creatively reinterpret the contract to think that I was supposed to write the site too. This is good. And I said, okay, so it's going to be this amount, and I'll write the website for you. And it said, well, I don't have that. And I said, okay, so do you have $1,000? And I'll get on the phone with you for 90 minutes and we'll record it. And I'll show you how you probably already have 85 to 90% of this content that you're so worried about. You just need somebody to help you organize it. And they said, sure, charge my card. And that was the epiphany right there about the website being the goal, the tool rather than the goal, because ultimately what this entrepreneur wanted was their website to be online and to have a business ready to go. And what they needed was something that would enable them to engage visitors and prospects and convert them into clients and customers. Bottom line, that's what we're here for. So I figured out that all this design stuff that we're so worried about is probably an overstated issue. And what I mean by not building the website first is, sure, you need a web presence, but you can install WordPress on business hosting and have go get a logo of some sort, and you can have a website online in about 2 to 3 days. Put up some blog posts, start a conversation with your visitors and prospects, and develop your $10,000 dream as you go along, and get your customers who are paying you for services to fund the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's mistake number one. I know that was long-winded, but that's where I needed to begin. The second thing is clean up your social media and stop vague booking and drama and everything else. But at the same time, don't start selling. Learn how to be properly social. When I see people who continue to make the same social media mistakes and it's really hurting them in their business more than they realize, you just simply have to be social like you're at a business networking function. It's really a lot simpler than they make it out to be. And the third big mistake that I frequently see people make in terms of getting started really comes down to analysis paralysis and what's the right way to do this. Because let's say we latch onto some guru and we get on their mailing list, we attend some of their webinars, maybe we buy some of their home study courses, and we say, okay, now I understand online marketing because Guru A taught me how. This is cool. So they're just getting ready to launch, and then they get this email from Guru B who says, all that stuff that Guru A taught you is wrong. I tried their stuff. Here are my spreadsheets and my flowcharts showing how I did their thing and it didn't work. Now you need to invest in my home study course and my coaching and mastermind. Then Guru C comes along, and then finally they're just standing there with their eyes spinning around. Well, who do I believe? The bottom line is you believe whoever sounds believable. You try something. You find a course, you find a method that you can believe in that is ethical, and you follow it and you see it through. If it works, great. If not, you try something else. But the thing is, you keep moving forward. I have a way of dealing with some of my coaching clients where they get these guru offers all the time, and they'll forward the emails to me and they'll say, do we need this? And sometimes they'll take the time to write out paragraphs in terms of why they feel they need it in the business. And my response will always be one word. It'll be no. And I mean that's the that 1% of the time it's yes, but usually it's no. And I don't explain why. I just say no. And the reason I do it that way is because I want them to understand the importance of smart decision making in their business. If they take the time to explain why they think we need it, and I just say no. If they feel strongly that that's an investment they need to make, they're going to come back and restate some of their points and ask me to explain my answer. If they take it at face value, then it probably didn't mean much to them.
Right. Right. I get it. I like it. I like it a lot. You're saying it's funny how even though we fundamentally, you and I do completely different things in terms of what we provide, yet it's so similar.
Yes.
And I'm just chuckling because I'm just like, I cannot, this is the same thing. Okay. So what would you say outside of the mistakes arena? What are some of what should we be doing?
All right. Well, aside from just reversing those 3 points, which is find the faster, better way to get a website up quickly and move forward and get your customers to pay for the dream, use social media effectively, and don't be blinded by bright, shiny objects, I'm going to throw in another thing that I think folks should do. I see way too often people will go on Facebook and they'll go on LinkedIn and they'll say, these are the books I'm reading. And you'll see the lineup of the top 10 business books that everybody else hears about all the time that people say, I know this book, as if they're trying to prove that they know something about business. I read a lot of those same books, but a lot of my reading are actually books about history, biographies and autobiographies, and books on how to meet and succeed with women.
Okay.
I'll tell you the reasons why. When you look at things that happened historically, you get a sense of trends. You get a sense of some of the external factors that have influenced the development of the human condition and helps you understand some of the pressures that will come to your business and how to deal with those effectively. How markets, how trends, how all this stuff you see on the news, if you pay attention to the news, you don't quite understand what it really means. So you can think smart about how your business is going to grow. I like to read biographies and autobiographies because I like to see real people in real world situations, in their words, how they approach things, how they handled things. I want to see how somebody who was Secretary of Defense dealt with HR issues. I don't want to know how an HR person dealt with HR issues because I've already heard that story 20 times before. I need to see somebody in a different type of role take the same skills we're talking about in business and apply that to their own unique situation. And you learn a lot that way. And the reason why I bring up the topic of, books about how to meet and succeed with women, or if men are your thing, how to meet and succeed with men, or how to attract your ideal mate, or what have you, is because a lot of the same principles that go into the attraction process and how we find people who we want to have in our lives apply to how we attract, convert, and retain customers and clients that we want to have in our business. There's this book. It's called How to Succeed with Women. I can't remember who wrote it. It's somewhere on my bookshelf here. I bought it 20 years ago when I was trying to figure out how to ask a girl out on a date. And most of the learning I got from that book, I ended up applying to how do I start a business. I was listening. Now you had me on the edge of my seat. I was going, okay, I get the history. When you said the history and the biography ones, I was like, okay, I know where that's going. I was waiting to find out what is the meeting and succeeding with women have to do. I'm like, maybe, am I missing something? I know I'm married now and maybe I still need to read these. What's going on? Okay, now I understand where you're coming from. It all makes sense because they're people, and at the end of the day, business is done with people. And hopefully, you guys are hearing that. I love the unique approach to finding out the information because it's oftentimes, but unfortunately, it's those unique approaches that takes extra time to invest in and to interpret that actually create the success that most people are looking for. But we're always too busy looking for the microwave shortcut. And it's unfortunately not available most of the time. Right. There's one other thing I'd like to leave with your audience if you'll let me.
By all means.
We are so focused on trying to find out what our customers want so we can deliver it to them. In fact, I even use phrases like that in my marketing sometimes because it's just what people understand at the level they've been conditioned to understand. But the bottom line is, Jay, I really couldn't care less what people want.
This is good. Go on.
I care about what they respond to and what will drive them to take action, which in many cases is not the same thing that they'll say when you ask them, well, what do you want? Because a lot of times when we're asked, what do we want? We will either consciously subconsciously or as a result of habit, deliver the answer that people expect to hear. However, that's not what's going to necessarily motivate us to take action. That's why you have so many people go to seminars and educational events, and they're all rah, 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 rah. I'm going to go and I'm going to hit it hard Monday morning, and I'm going to turn all this around. And then within 72 hours, they're all back to the old habits, because at that event, they were all cheering and screaming and jumping up in the air saying, I want success. But they're not conditioned, or they haven't found the way to respond to what needs to happen to find and gain the success that they're looking for. I can explain this whole principle very simply. Who among us knows somebody who constantly complains about all these jerks, losers, liars, and cheaters that they're dating?
Oh boy.
And they say, I can't believe he cheated on me again. I can't believe she slapped me in public again. But oh, she's so nice, and oh, he's so cute, and I can't wait to see him tonight. And then the next day you hear that this is absolutely it. They're done with him. And on and on and on, and the cycle goes on and on and on forever until they find the next person to put them through the same cycle. And then they'll have their wish list of what they want in a person. They have their checklist, their ideal guy or ideal gal, what have you. And the moment that person shows up in their life, what do? They friend zone them, saying, well, they're not really what I'm looking for. Yeah, again, it doesn't matter what they want. It's right. What matters is what they respond to. So if the person is responding to liars, cheaters, jerks, and losers, we have to look at why they're responding to the liars, cheaters, jerks, and losers, and use that to move them towards the ideal person. Yeah. Translate that to your marketing, and it starts to fall into place. And how you figure this out is you gain an understanding of how persuasion works, you gain an understanding of how copywriting works, and you study the human condition, not through the tabloids or what the TV tells you it's supposed to be, but actually observing people in action and seeing how they act.
Indeed. You know, I think we're going to start calling you Master Yoda. Because you're coming from a completely different perspective, but it's so true. That was actually one of the most frustrating things for me, as I began to put more information online, was like, here's what you need. And I know what that is. But here's what you say you want. And unless I word it in the way that you want to receive it, you won't actually come and find out exactly what it is that you need in order to actually make a difference and change. And we had to learn, and still learning to some degrees, on how to get people to respond to those things so that it's like, come on, this is the gold. Don't fall for the shiny object yet one more time.
Right. As I say to folks all the time, if you have just developed a widget and you're trying to sell it on LinkedIn, but then you discover that the people who need to buy this widget are actually on Facebook asking for a moribund Frankfurter, you go to Facebook and you say, announcing my moribund Frankfurter version 3.0, because that's the language that they understand.
Right.
And you translate that into getting them what they need.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that is an art, and that is a science, and clearly you have perfected it in so many ninja secret ways. Speaking of secrets, I want everybody to know I definitely appreciated I think you had a tech tip with the whole Google conversation view recently. That yes. I definitely appreciated that. Tell us a little bit. You know what? How about you do this? Tell us a little bit more how we can find out more about you, and most importantly, how can we get access to more of those tech tips like that are very, very helpful.
Okay, see, here's another example of the difference between what people say they want and what they respond to. Every Tuesday, I send people who are subscribed to my opted-in list what I call my Tuesday technology tip, where I find some little thing, whether it's with WordPress or a Google app or something along those lines, just some way to do things easier so you spend a little less time editing and maintaining and more time educating and monetizing. And I have had business coaches saying, why the hell are you spending time teaching people how to change the view of their messages in Gmail? What the heck does this have to do with website conversions? Well, it is so funny because what happens is people Google online, they're looking for answers to how do I manage my Gmail more effectively, or how do I make my shopping cart pages look like my website to reduce my shopping cart abandonment, or how do I transform my DVDs into a digital product so that I can sell this more and sell it faster and lower my overhead to have a more profitable business. And when I express these through the tech tips, people watch these and they say, dude, you got the stuff. And then that opens the conversation for what else we do. So I'm looking at what are some of the questions that my prospects are asking. They're not necessarily asking, well, how do I help my website convert better? Or how do I get greater opt-in conversion percentage on my webinar registration page? That's oftentimes not where they start. So that's why I do this. Now, for your listeners, what I want to do is I want to give them a very special gift. Go to www.businesscreatorsinstitute.com. You can Google that, Business Creators Institute, and set up yourself up with an entry-level free membership. Inside that membership, which you can sign up instantly for, and as I said, it's 100% free, you'll get the only place on the internet where we have the complete library of all these Tuesday technology tips, where you can find yourself spending less time editing and maintaining and more time educating and monetizing. I have a library of recordings of teleseminars and webinars I've hosted and guested on, where you can learn more about website conversions, media and publicity. We have some search engine optimization, I believe. We have some copywriting. We have selling without selling. We have a whole number of different things. And then I also have some my Rolodex of some of my top recommended resources that I use to be more effective in business, along with some checklists to help you with some of your decision-making processes so it becomes much easier for you, especially if you're starting out.
Nice. Absolutely wonderful. Now, with that being said, to the person who's getting started or looking to get started or looking to develop that confidence and doesn't have a printer that they're willing to go and break into pieces, what would you say to them in closing that you think that is probably the most important thing that could help them get unstuck or develop the courage to make it happen?
Well, first of all, since you're going to be bootstrapping when you start your business anyway, buy a cheap printer. That way you get to do it and it doesn't cost you too much. But really, be cognizant of the fact that there are a lot of things where you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know the questions that you're even supposed to ask. And allow yourself the freedom to know that there's so much out there that you still need to learn and have the opportunity to learn, and go out and get it. I know that sounds very cliche-like, but that's kind of where I would begin. Just understand that you don't have to have all the answers, and also understand that the answers may not exist. I can tell you one quick story. I did a consult with somebody. I'm not going to mention his name for confidentiality reasons, but he's also a friend of mine, and he is an internationally acclaimed online marketer. He created a product that if I said the product name, I think everybody who was listening would shake their heads and say, oh yeah, I have that. Well, he came to me because he said, I've spoken with 13 people so far who specialize in website conversions, and I need to increase my conversions. And they all say that I have to do these split tests and try things. And I just want somebody to tell me the one thing that I need to do in order to increase my conversions. Mm-hmm. And please tell me, do you have the answer? And I said, well, the answer is I'm going to be the 14th person to tell you need to test stuff. Yeah, find something that you believe, based on the best information you have available, is likely to work and fits within what you feel to be your comfortable ethical boundaries, and try it. If it works, you've moved forward. If it doesn't work, you've eliminated something. You can go try something else. But by all means, we learn so much more from our mistakes. I'm going to leave your audience with just one final thought that I think will hopefully help set their minds in the right way. Is years ago, I had a friend who was a manager of a call center, and he was in a situation where he had to have a conversation with one of his employees, and he looked at the guy and he said, you do understand the reason why I'm the boss and you're the employee is because I've effed up a lot more than you.
Exactly.
I had to be a little bit blunt with that because I really want that to get into people's minds.
Right.
That, I mean, it really comes down to that. I mean, how many times did they have to work on the light bulb or electricity or the telephone until they finally got one that worked?
Indeed. And that is so very true. I always tell people you can't learn and look good at the same time. And if you let go of your addiction to looking good, you learn a lot more.
Yes.
That's good. Thank you, Adam, for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Jay. This has been a singular pleasure. I've really enjoyed this.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it's time to do. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. That means go over to businesscreatorsinstitute.com. Get started. There's clearly hours and upon hours of more information there available to you, but don't just listen to the information, implement it at the speed of instruction and make things happen for you. It's been fun talking to you guys one more time, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Until next time.